You must have heard two kinds of comments about fermented bean curd. Some people say that it looks moldy and produces nitrites, which are carcinogenic poisons. Others say that it is Oriental cheese, the standard morning tea in Old Guangdong, and the go-to meal for northeastern people. So, is fermented bean curd a cancer-causing poison or a magical food? Criticisms online about bean curd causing cancer mainly focus on mold and high nitrite. Let's talk about mold first. The most intuitive impression many people have when seeing fermented bean curd for the first time is the fuzz on its surface. These white fuzz are indeed very reminiscent of moldy food, especially those moldy foods that may produce aflatoxin. After all, who wants to try a piece of moldy tofu? But the story of fermented bean curd is much more interesting than it seems. Although it has the word fu, it is actually a carefully designed fermented food. Those worrying fuzzies are actually made up of hand-selected beneficial bacteria. In this flora, mucor plays the leading role, while yeast, aspergillus, and penicillium play important supporting roles. They are like a gourmet magician hidden in the tofu room, transforming ordinary tofu into mouth-watering deliciousness. Therefore, the so-called mold on fermented bean curd is actually harmless and even artificially controlled beneficial bacteria. After talking about mold, let's take a look at another cancer-causing controversy, nitrite. Nitrite is converted into nitrosamines in the stomach, and nitrosamines are carcinogens. Many people equate fermented bean curd with kimchi and worry that fermentation will produce a large amount of nitrite. However, the raw material of fermented bean curd is soybeans, which itself contains almost no nitrite. Even after several months of fermentation, it will not produce a large amount of nitrite out of thin air. Harbin's market survey data confirms this. No cases of excessive nitrite were found in fermented bean curd samples on the market. From this point of view, fermented bean curd has neither harmful mold nor accumulation of nitrite, let alone causing cancer. And, even more counterintuitively, fermented bean curd not only has no cancer risk, but also has surprisingly high nutritional value. We just talked about the silent magic of the artificially controlled beneficial bacteria in fermented bean curd. They not only remove the bitter taste of soybeans, but also avoid the problem of flatulence in soy products, and also increase the protein utilization rate from 65% to 96%. Not only did these food wizards bring no harm, they turned an ordinary piece of tofu into a nutritional essence. In addition, fermented bean curd also hides a surprising secret. Remember the Oriental cheese we mentioned at the beginning? Fermented bean curd really has a similar characteristic to dairy products. It can provide vitamin B12. In the plant world, this is a miracle. You know, vitamin B12 is extremely rare in plants and is not found in tofu, but fermented bean curd is rich in it. Especially green bean curd, the vitamin B12 content is more than 10 times that of red and white bean curd. Oriental cheese, food eating tool, these titles don't seem to be inappropriate at all. So, should we let go of eating fermented bean curd? Sorry, although fermented bean curd is not carcinogenic and has high nutritional value, it still has a characteristic that requires special attention in your daily diet: salty. According to the Chinese food composition table, a small piece of 10 grams of fermented bean curd contains 201 to 309 milligrams of sodium, which is equivalent to 0.5 to 0.77 grams of salt. You know, the dietary guidelines for Chinese residents recommend that our daily salt intake should not exceed 5 grams. According to this standard, eating 2 pieces of fermented bean curd will account for 20% to 30% of the recommended daily salt intake. If you eat other foods, such as stir-fried vegetables and soups, it is easy to exceed the limit. In today's high-fat and high-salt dietary environment, the high-salt characteristics are undoubtedly a huge limitation for fermented bean curd. So let's go back to the controversy at the beginning. Is fermented bean curd a carcinogenic poison or a magical food? Now the answer is obvious. Fermented bean curd is neither a cancer-causing poison nor a snack that can be eaten freely. High salt is its characteristic and its limitation. But as long as it is eaten in moderation, it is not only a delicacy on the table, but also a nutritional treasure that has been scientifically domesticated.